Okay, welcome then everyone to this session on mastering APA PsycInfo in the new EBSCOhost interface. So for those not attended one of my webinars before, met me before, I'm Richard Crooks. I work for the EBSCO Customer Training Services team based here in the UK. I'm a senior customer training specialist, having now worked for EBSCO for approximately 14 years, just over that, and previously worked as a librarian within the NHS in England in the various library services for about 12 years. So thanks for joining today's session. In terms of the actual focus that we're going to look at today, we will be looking at navigating the new interface. Some of you may already be migrated to that platform and be using it. Others are in the process of approaching that time. We'll have a live demonstration, of course, and that would include looking at basic advanced searching, the use of the APA Thesaurus, filters and limiters that you can apply to find your search results, and also the available tools so that you can process results as well, say results and searches for future access. And also, of course, we'll look at the support material for the APA PsycInfo as well. So we may have some time for questions and my responses at the end, but obviously use the Teams chat for any comments, questions you might have as they arise during the course of this webinar. And of course, let me know if I need to slow down or in some cases, if I forget to share my screen, etc. So in terms of the actual objectives for this training today, I hope that by the end of this session, you'll be able to use the natural language search to find relevant records in answer to research questions. You'll also be able to create and run a PEO framework search on APA PsycInfo. Some of you are obviously very familiar with PEO. This is an alternative, so I'll go through that as we continue. You will also be able to use the APA Thesaurus to identify relevant subject terms and apply filters to refine search results effectively, and also be able to utilize EBSCO's tools within the interface to manage and organize your search and results. So before we continue, just wanted to go through a reminder of what to expect from APA PsycInfo. Some of you may already be accessing this, some perhaps you think of a subscription, but I just want to give you a reminder of the kind of content coverage of this database specifically. So in terms of coverage, it is the world's largest resource devoted to peer-reviewed literature in the behavioral sciences and mental health, obviously produced by the American Psychological Association, the APA, so it's an indispensable tool for the discovery of global scholarly research. So just to highlight some facts here, it's updated twice weekly, so a very current database. You have 150 million cited references, over 5 million records that span 600 years of content, so it goes back pretty far. You've got 2,400 indexed and abstracted peer-reviewed journals, so you have peer-reviewed content, peer-reviewed literature. So APA PsycInfo in itself is an abstract and index-only database, but I'll qualify that as we go through this session. You have content, of course, from journal articles, but also from book chapters and dissertations. And also, just to clarify, you have coverage going back to the 17th, 18th centuries, with extensive coverage from the 19th century, authored and edited books and book chapters, and also dissertations selected from Dissertations Abstracts International. Publications originate with more than 50 countries worldwide, of course, and then we have journals published in 30 languages. So you can appreciate the international scope of this particular database. In terms of searching then, what I'll do is just go through this briefly and then we'll look at the live demonstration of this particular feature. So we have natural language search as a search mode that's available, and you can access that from the basic search page or on the advanced search screen. So the screenshot that you see here is from the basic search. So you'll notice there's an option to select natural language highlighted there. And typically, the way it works is that allows researchers, users to search using everyday terminology and in a question or statement form. So it's not designed to look up, for example, bipolar disorders, eating disorders. Essentially, you ask it a question. The large language model is prompted to respond with a Boolean query. So we'll see an example of that in the live demonstration. So essentially what it's doing is streamlining information retrieval, making it faster and more efficient. Again, enables everyday language queries from complex databases and knowledge graphs. And it's essentially reflecting the common familiar experiences today with users with tools like Siri, Google, Alexa, and so on. So again, we'll see an example of that. So we will go to the live interface. So let me just do that now. So I'll share my screen. So you should now see the basic search page for APA PsycInfo. And again, reflecting what you saw as the screenshot in the PowerPoint, you have the option to switch on natural language search here. So if I then consider a question that I might ask it, so we're looking at a question in relation to patients with depression. So in patients, let's see, with depression, is exercise therapy, let's say exercise, okay, more effective than antidepressants, okay? So we just put antidepressant medication. So just going to put it in a question, literally as it is. Okay, so bear with me, depressants, sorry. And okay, so we'll just leave it as that for now. Okay, so it's in the form of a question, okay, and we just run the search for this database. And in the moment, you should see when the results appear, you would see an option to refine the query. So essentially, then you can see here already the key terms are highlighted. So the first item there in the general physical activity from earlier last year is the evidence is clear: exercise is not better than antidepressants or therapy, etc. Okay, and if you look at item 2 there. And this relates specifically to depression, as you can see, running therapy or antidepressants. So again, it's picked up the key terms. And how do we know that? Apart from what we see highlighted in yellow there, if you go to the top of the screen, you'll see show refined query, and it outlines the Boolean query. So the terms depression or depressive disorder combined using the Boolean and with exercise or physical activity or workout, and then effectiveness, treatment, and so on. So we have a good feedback in relation to the natural language search mode, both from librarians and also end users, from clinicians, for example, in healthcare in using this. So, and some have commented that they can also copy this string and paste it into the likes of Google Scholar, other tools as well. So essentially a simple query that has been configured by the large language model based on the question that's been asked. So this is a quick way to get to to evidence quickly. You can still, of course, refine the results. You've got various filters at the top of the screen. For example, if you're looking for full text content, you've got linked full text. And linked full text is simply indicating that, again, APA PsycInfo is an abstract and index-only database. But by virtue of smart linking from EBSCO, you can link to other articles that are available in other full text databases like CINAHL Complete, Medline Ultimate, and those links will be transferred to this database. So if we go to link full text here, you'll find some references that have full text available, and they also might be available through subscriptions that you may have as well. And we call that Smart Linking Plus. So link full text is just an option that you can use to filter results. So you can see here, and you can see various links to access PDF. Others may say access options, in which case you've got PDF and online full text as well. So again, if you're looking for a full text article specifically, then obviously you can filter. The majority of content, as I mentioned at the outset, in APA PsycInfo is peer reviewed. You've got the additional filter there. You can also specify the time frame. So if you look at more current references, for example, past 5 years, you can filter those results accordingly. So just wait for that to complete. Also, just to mention, we have this link here, how does it work? So this is just highlighting to the user what natural language search is, with an example of the kind of questions you might ask, and they are quite generic, to be honest. But again, it just outlines the user what is natural language search. Okay, so basically a very quick way to refine, your search to an answer to a specific question. So it's very intuitive. And again, as I've mentioned, it's been well received for others that are using other EBSCO databases like Medline, CINAHL, and so on. Of course, we also have source type here as well. And you can see these 42 records are from the journal literature, as it were. Okay. So again, just an initial introduction to the natural language search mode. Also want to mention, if we go to advanced search, again, the questions there, you'll notice now on this page, under search options, the natural language search mode is selected. So once you select natural language search on the basic search page, that is also identified on the advanced page So you can perform a basic natural language search on either the basic search screen or within advanced search. Okay. Now, while we're here as well, because we have these search options open, this details what the way in which PsycInfo typically searches on the EBSCOhost platform. So if I just click new search here, for example, then go at search options, you'll see the default search is proximity. So that means you're searching for words as they appear in any order near 5 words or less of each other. That is the default configuration for proximity search. So when you enter your search terms, it'll look for the terms as they appear in any order near 5 words or less. So for example, if you were to search for eating disorders, then it will look for eating near 5 words or less of disorders and vice versa. You have find all my search terms, by the way, which is the AND operator. Find any is the OR operator. Smart text searching is another way of searching based on a quantity of text that you identify as useful. So for example, an abstract, if you select smart text searching, you can cut and paste the abstract in the top search box, and it will construct a query based on the key terms, the main terms within that paragraph that you've cut and pasted into the box itself. So essentially, it's useful if you identify a very good article and you feel that there may be other things like that out there, and then you can cut and paste the abstract summary into the search box when you use smart text searching. Now, for all these elements, you'll notice there's a link to EBSCO Connect. If I click that link, it will take you to the EBSCO Connect page for this particular area. So this covers the search modes and gives you more detail about proximity searching, find all my search terms, and as we just covered, natural language search. Okay, so again, there's information there. And also, if you want to amend the default search mode, there are instructions here as to how to do that. So if you have admin rights to EBSCO Admin Experience Manager, the tools that administrate the interface, then you can explore that in your time. If you're a user, of course, you wouldn't have that responsibility. But again, this is where you may want to review with your colleagues what is the best approach for searching on APA PsycInfo for your users. So typically proximity is the default search mode for most EBSCOhost databases. If you have the discovery service from EBSCO, find all my search terms would be the default query there. And of course, natural language is a separate query search mode that you can use standalone if you like when you're using the database. So I'm just going to come out of this. And of course, we do also have, in terms of expanders, so to expand the search beyond the standard keyword search, you also have these 3 expanders: apply related words, which looks for synonyms and plurals related to your term. So for example, if you look for alcohol, it may pick up alcoholism, alcoholic. Search within the full text, it does exactly that. It searches within the online full text or the PDF articles that are available. And also apply equivalent subjects is a concept mapping feature which will map your keyword search term to a particular concept that in turn will then be mapped to specific subject headings within the APA Thesaurus and retrieve records based on the indexing in addition to your keyword search. So again, I would refer you to the EBSCO Connect context sensitive help menu for more information on each of those expanders. In this demonstration, proximity is the main search, is the default search mode, and we also have apply equivalent subjects already on. Okay, so again, just to clarify that. So what I'm going to do is just go back briefly to the PowerPoint to introduce the actual research question that we're going to go through in terms of PEO. So let me just stop sharing here and switch back, and we'll begin looking at a more in-depth search and applying that to the interface as well. So we're looking at this research question for PEO. Does social media use lead to eating disorders in young people? So I'm already highlighting terms that I feel we need to utilize to run the search in this database. So social media, of course, eating disorders, and obviously we have a population group of young people. So essentially then, PEO is this framework. So it's kind of like an abbreviated PEO framework. Population, so we have young people, of course. Exposure, so this time we're looking at not intervention, not treatment, but an exposure. So it's the exposure to social media, and then the outcome, the impact of social media on eating disorders. So again, these are the three elements. And so we have these three columns. And aside from the first row, where I've already highlighted the key elements, I am now considering the synonyms, alternative expressions that we should be using when we're searching the literature. So we have to, in a sense, second guess what the authors, researchers, editors, reviewers, etc., are referring to when they look at a group of young people. So it could be young, it could be teen, it could be teenagers or teenage, adolescent or adolescents, of course. With exposure, social media is quite generic. It could also be included in multimedia. There's also social networking. And then you have the specific apps like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and I believe Grok is now included there. And then outcome, eating disorders. Again, eating disorders is a general term, but you've got anorexia, bulimia specifically, binge eating, body image, purge, vomiting, and so on. And there may be more. This is not exhaustive. It's just like an initial start to identify what terms we should be looking for in answer to this question. And then below that, in italics, in uppercase, we have the APA Thesaurus terms. Now, we won't necessarily know what they are initially, so we could start off with browsing the thesaurus to identify those. But I've got some here. So adolescent attitudes, adolescent behavior, for example, youth mental health. We've got social media, which you would expect in these days. Digital media could also be included. Digital marketing, maybe. Cyberbullying. Again, there are other terms that we can broaden this out to. And then for eating disorders, there's also eating behavior, anorexia nervosa, bulimia, binge eating disorder, binge drinking, and so on. So we have those terms. So again, we're looking at a combination of searching both for free text keyword search terms and also the APA Thesaurus terms. So APA Thesaurus terms, of course, are more authoritative. They will retrieve records that are about those topics, those areas, based on indexes assigning those headings to content in APA PsycInfo, whereas, of course, the free text search terms will pick up the actual occurrences of those terms that have been used by the authors, researchers, and so on. Now, before we get any further, I also want to mention about the recent update to the thesaurus as well. So there are periodic updates, of course, as you might appreciate, of the APA Thesaurus with societal changes, cultural changes. Things that were once referred to are no longer appropriate, of course. They get superseded. So you see a sample of new terms added, things that may be more popular now than they were before. Attachment security, child custody evaluation, emotionally focused couples therapy, etc. So these terms are included here. So the document itself does give you more detailed information about the APA Thesaurus. So it's updated periodically, and this is the most recent update from winter 2025. So again, you can look at that in your own time. In terms of searching, before we get to the live demonstration, just to outline in terms of how you approach the searching in terms of looking for or browsing the APA Thesaurus. So once you come to the subjects tab, which is available on the default search page as the advanced search page, then you can actually click on that and enter the preferred term. We've got eating disorders indicated here, and when you click search, it will map that term to the appropriate subject term, and you can see eating disorders is a APA Thesaurus term, as you would gather from the previous slide as well. So you have that option there, and once you've identified that, you can add that to the search. That would append the term to the search box, and you can run a search for items that have been assigned eating disorders as a heading, and also narrow terms, because we have the explode option there. So explode will allow you to include automatically the narrow headings as well, and we'll see an example of that when we look at the live demonstration. In terms of filters, obviously there are some that are common to all EBSCO databases, for example, like abstract only, full text, language, and so on. But we also have additional filters for the APA PsycInfo. With subject major heading, you have the APA Thesaurus term that would be included, and that's where it is the primary focus. So again, you'll find a list of relevant headings within the subject major heading area within the column that you see the screenshot of on the right. There is also the internal APA PsycInfo classification, so the categories codes that describe content, you can also use that. Methodology, there's also this filter to identify clinical case studies, empirical studies, prospective studies, literature review, and so on, and also systematic review. And we do have a link there about the methodology filter. So if you want more details about that, then you can click on that link. So you'll have that in the PowerPoint that you'll get a copy of. Tests and measures, for example, published and unpublished tests and measures that are mentioned in the source document, and also whether it is appended to the source document as well. And of course, you have a specific filter for population, which is a more standardized description of specific populations related to the content of the document. So again, we're looking at APA PsycInfo from the APA, but it's available through the EBSCOhost platform. So with that in view, we are going to go to the search demonstration and go through the steps to run this particular search in answer to this question. So we're looking at the person, so the population, exposure, and outcome in relation to young people, adolescent, and social media and eating disorders. So I'm going to go back now to my demonstration site. So my screen, my desktop, and we'll begin looking at this query. So the first thing we look at is the population group, as you might guess. So we are looking at adolescents. So for this, we're going to use some truncation as well. So I'm going to try and factor in some of the key elements of wildcards that we can use and explain what they do. So the first one is to adolescent. So I can truncate adolescent. So in this fashion, so I can truncate here. So that'll find the occurrences that I showed in the slide earlier. I'll combine it with a Boolean or for teen or teenagers or teenage. So again, I can truncate here. So I'll find teens, teenage, teenagers, etc. I will also add double quotation marks for young people. So this is the way of performing an exact phrase search. Okay, so this will find at least one occurrence of the phrase young people within the citation field. Once I get this correctly entered, sorry about that. And then also I'll add youth as well. Again, these are just synonyms, variations that we could include. And we may have also young persons as well. And I'll use quotation marks for that as well. Okay, so this will be the first search. What we're also going to do is to be more focused. We're going to do a title or abstract search as well. So for this, I'll use the field code. So wait a minute, I'm just going to type this in. Okay, and then I'm going to choose the drop-down menu, the XB title abstract field code. So what that's going to do is identify these keyword search terms as I've entered them and the related terms based on truncation within the title or abstract field for any document that's available through APA PsycInfo. Okay, so it's a keyword search, but specifically focused on title or abstract searching. And you may have some debate about whether or not you would just do an unqualified search. So if you need more information about an unqualified search within APA PsycInfo, I can share information on that. So we've got that there, and we'll click search here. So once that's run, in a moment, you should see that should appear on screen. So I just wait for that to complete. Okay, and one thing you'll notice, and this is a new feature that was released at the end of October within the EBSCOhost interface. So this new interface has been around for some time now, but it's been under constant development. And we released the search history. You can see here there's a little link here to search history, and if you can click on that to open up the search history, and it'll display, and it's also got the other terms listed as well. So what I'm going to do here, so it has recorded what we've been searching, as you can see. So I'm going to just remove these. Okay, just delete these. You can just go in and delete line by line here. There is a bulk delete coming at some point as well, so you can bulk delete in other areas of the interface, but just going to remove those quickly. So just to highlight then that the search has been recorded here, okay, above the results that you can see below, and then with the 3 search rows maintained on the top there. And by the way, you can add more rows here, up to 12, in fact, if you want to enter searches line by line, as it were. Okay, so we've run the first element of PEO, so the population, but we are going to qualify that with an additional search for the APA Thesaurus terms. So for that, we'll click New Search. We'll go to the Subjects tab. Again, this mirrors what you saw in the PowerPoint. So click on that 3rd tab there, and then we'll browse for the term adolescent. Okay, so adolescent. Okay, and I'm going to go for term begins with in this case. So you can see we've got adolescent attitudes, behavior, and so on. So you can see all sorts of variations here. So what I'm going to do is go to one of these. I think we'll go to adolescent attitudes to begin with, and then we can select from here. So for example, you can select adolescent attitudes, and then you can see the narrow terms as well drop down here as well. So we can go to any one of these if we prefer. So for example, adolescent behavior, and you can see those listed also. There's also youth suicide, maybe we can include that as well. And then maybe others that we want to add also. Okay, so we've got a few terms there that we can use for this search. Okay, so we're going to go in and adolescent psychology as well. So we select those terms, ready terms, and click add to search. Okay, and then you can see them grouped together in the top search box. Now, what you'll see here is an indication that these are APA Thesaurus terms because we have the DE field code prefix in each of those terms, those phrases. So DE simply means descriptor. So these are exact headings used in the APA Thesaurus about this population group. So we'll click search to run the search for those index terms. Again, waiting for that to complete. Okay, and so we've got the two sets of results there. So both relate to the population element of PEO, and we can combine the two. So we can select both sets. We'll use the Boolean OR combined with OR. You can see the sets now at the top of the screen in the search box, and we'll click search. So we'll just group that first element together in one set. So anything about adolescence will be included here, whether the word appears or the terms appear in the title or abstract or are index terms. Okay, so that now appears as set 3, S3 in the search history. So now we're going to move on to the aspect of social media. So again, we'll use some wildcards, etc. here as well, where appropriate. So we're going to use social media. So we're going to look at social media as a phrase, as an exact phrase. So social media, or we'll also look at social networking, and I'll truncate that for social networks as well. So we'll do that, and then network. Okay, so the social networking. So I'm going to truncate it again, use the asterisk for that. Digital media as well. I'll also do add the quotation marks for exact phrase searching. Again, this could be important. Or cyberbully. Now, cyberbully could be one word or two words. So what I'll do here, I'm going to put cyberbully as two words and truncate it to include bullying. Again, sorry, let me get that right here. Bully. Okay. And then I'll also add cyberbullying as one word as well, because it could be. So make sure I don't put that. It's not case sensitive, by the way, so I'm just going to avoid that. Something just appeared on my screen there. Cyberbully. And I'll truncate that term as well. So it could be two words or one word, etc. And then I might just go for the actual apps themselves. So for example, I think we'd just include Grok now, although it's in the news for the wrong reasons. Instagram. Okay, or let's see. So let me just get my building operators there. And then also TikTok, as you can imagine, we heavily used. And then we might have also Snapchat, and then less likely probably Facebook for younger people. I'm not sure how many younger people use that nowadays, but we've got these others here which also may have some impact or influence, as it were. And then we'll put in Facebook finally. Okay, so there could be other apps that are known, etc., that might bring up relevant results, but we use these terms initially. And as I run the search, I'm going to qualify it with the XP field code. Obviously, I'm entering things here, and it's possible I can make a mistake. You may spot some, but what we can do with each of these search strings, we can edit them quite easily. So I'm just waiting for that to load up on screen. I did that. Oh, it's frozen now. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so you can see the search lines there, S4 now. And if I go into the tools menu on the right there, you can see it, the mouse over there. I can go in, edit the search. and then click Edit Search. And this will allow me to make changes. So if I want to remove any of these elements or reword them or add more, I could do so here. Okay, and I would update the search. I'd come out of here, and then the actual search string will be updated. Okay. So again, it's possible to edit these line by line. You see the edit option each available for each of these search sets there. Okay. So that is the title or abstract search related to the exposure, social media, and related terms. Again, if you've got any comments, questions about any of this, please do let us know. But then we'll look at the equivalent subject heading, so the APA Thesaurus terms. So again, we'll click New Search, go to Subjects, and we'll enter in or browse the thesaurus for the term social media. So we'll start with social media and so we get on here. So social media, okay, and browse. And unsurprisingly, you have the term social media. Now, where you see the plus sign, this is immediately telling us there are narrower terms that will be included. So if you select the explode column, that would be included. But if you want to see what they are, then I click social media itself. This gives you the scope note. Okay, so it defines what the term is about. It was introduced in 2012, so fairly recent, but not surprising given the advent of social media. You have the option to select here. And notice when I select this term, because there's the explode option on, it's also including the narrow terms, online social networks, and social media influencers. So basically, I select one term, and then these two are also selected. I can also go in and select broader terms like digital media. I can go into the related terms like cyberbullying and others, etc. I can even be more broader with internet. Okay, online addiction, for example. I could go for social media use, social network analysis, and websites even. So some of these are quite broad terms, of course. But I can select multiple terms, multiple APA Thesaurus terms from the index in that way, and then click Add to Search, and you'll see them appearing in the search box again with the DE field code prefix in these terms to show us that these are actually subject terms. These are from the APA Thesaurus. So we'll click Search here. We'll run that search, and then what we'll do, again, in the principle, the first set will combine the subject search with the title object search related to the exposure element, which of course is related to social media. So again, that's now loading, and you can see that on screen in the search history. So S5 is what we just searched for. So any item indexed with any of these thesaurus terms combined with the terms within the title or abstract field within this database, and again, combined with the Boolean OR, and click Search. So that would lead then to the final element, which relates to the eating disorders, which is the outcome for PEO. So once this shows up, we'll then run that search. I'm just waiting for that to clear. So it has. And we'll do that now. So again, we'll go back to the top search box and we'll start searching for eating disorders and related terms. What I might also do here, as I'm doing this, is factor in some other elements of searching, and that includes proximity searching within this search. So some of you may have seen this in other sessions that I've run on Medline. For some, this might be quite new, but other platforms may use ADJ or adjacency, for example, but with EBSCOhost, we have near or within. So if I type in, for example, in this instance, eating N2, that's near 2 words or less of disorders. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to truncate disorders. So this could be eating disorders or disorders in eating. So near 2 words or less. So I'm searching for those terms in any order. Okay, if I just put in eating disorders, it would search for those. If I put them in double quotation marks, it search for the exact phrase. But this, I'm broadening the search, enhancing the search to include the possibility of eating disorders, eating disorder, or disordered eating, or disorders of eating, for example. So N means near 2 words or less. So the number there is literal. If you use ADJ on the other platform, and ADJ2 means 1 word or less. Okay, so N2 is literal on the EBSCOhost platform. And then if we add anorexia here, we can also truncate anorexia. So that will be anorexic or anorexia. Likewise with bulimia. I can truncate it like so. So it's bulimia or bulimic. Okay. And for binge eating, binge drinking, I can also add just binge and truncate binge, for example, and put bing, asterisk, that'll be binge, binging, etc. And then I can also add purging as well, or purge and truncate purge. So that'll be purge, purging, purged, etc. And then finally, we can also add not such a pleasant term, but vomit, of course, that's vomiting as well. So again, we're just using truncation symbols plus the proximity operator near to enhance the search for these keywords, again, within the title or abstract field. So I'm going to select the drop down again and run that search. So again, if there are errors made, then we can go into the search history and edit the appropriate search string there. So that will bring up, once that appears, the final set, which we'll look at, is the equivalent subject terms, the APA Thesaurus terms for eating disorders. So again, and notice also in the search history, it gives us the search string with obviously the field code, the Boolean operators, or etc. And then also the search options, proximity, apply equivalent subjects. We know these are enabled already. The proximity search mode is the default search mode. And then the number of results, the hit count is displayed. And also you have the database listed, APA PsycInfo, and then there's the tools menu as well. So it's possible if you type incorrectly or if you duplicate, the search string, you can go in and simply delete it and the set numbers will be resorted for you. So the final thing is to do the subject search, the APA Thesaurus search for eating disorders. So again, we'll go back to new search under research tools, go to the subjects tab, and then I'll search for eating disorders. So eating disorders. Okay, and then I'll run the search to browse the thesaurus, and you'll see that appearing soon. And you can see here the subject term, eating disorders. And if I click on that term, you'll see a brief scope note, says for appetite disorders and introduced in 1997. So kind of the time where these things perhaps were more prominently discussed, etc. So it's from that time. And then we can select the main term. When we do that, notice the now terms that are selected. So we're already selecting anorexia nervosa, APA Thesaurus term, along with binge eating disorder, bulimia, let's see, others, purging, eating disorders, etc. So again, those are also selected automatically. We can go further to some of the related terms. So for example, binge eating here, we can select that one. Emotional eating possibly. Let's see what else. Nausea. Some of these may not be directly relevant, but they still could pick up references that could be useful. So I've selected 3 additional related terms. We've got the narrow terms automatically included when we've selected the main term and the explode option is on. And we click add to search, and then you'll see the terms appearing there. So all articles indexed with these thesaurus terms would be then retrieved. And click search. So with that in view, though, we'll combine with the original title and abstract search. So to wait for that to load up. Okay. Okay. So what we'll do here then is combine those 2 sets, S8, S7. That's the outcome element for PEO, combined with OR. We see the 2 sets combined on the top left search box, click search, and then we'll have that appear in the search history. And I also want to mention here as well that when you run the search, when the search is completed, you can resort in the sequence. So right now we're seeing in reverse chronological order. So it'll be S9, as you see there now with the results there. But I'm going to click search ID, the ID option there, and then we can combine. We can do it this way or the other way, but just so you can see the sequence. So the first set, S3, these two terms, the title abstract search and the subject search combined into one set that relates to adolescence. The second element relates to social media, as you can appreciate. Again, XB, title abstract search, DE, a subject search, and then the final set here relates to eating disorder, which is the outcome. So we've got the three elements of PEO. We can combine with and, use the Boolean and here, and then search. So basically, we're going to retrieve records where those terms, whether it's related to adolescent, social media, and eating disorders, should all appear somewhere within the results that we retrieve. So if we scroll down, we'll see we've got, let's see now, it's still waiting for that to compute. So that should appear on screen very soon. Okay, so we've got 356 records, and they appear, of course, you see the final set S10 there, and you can see we've got the results below there. Okay, now we could refine it further. So we have some options to refine it. So for example, you'll see again, link full text peer reviewed all time. So if we're looking for the past 10 years, we can set that time frame and narrow it down further. So we just wait for that to finish. And then once that's done, we can look at some additional filters if we feel to limit or focus further as well. And that's recorded in the search history. So you can see we now got 244 references. So these have been published since 2026. So it's January 2016. We have source type here. So you can see here we've got the majority academic journals, some books there as well. We can filter according to these if we prefer. So we can go for academic journals only if we prefer and apply that filter. Because we may be open to some of the other literature, of course. And then we can also go to all filters as well once that's completed to see if there's any others that we should apply to this particular search. Again, the results are there. And if we go to all filters, you'll see we've also got English language, of course, with the online full text. I'll probably leave that as it is because we have got the option to translate online full text if necessary. We've also got subject major heading there. You can see that there. We've got publications. So if you're looking for specific publications, for example, the Journal of Eating Disorders or the International Journal of Eating Disorders, there are 14 references to that. Publisher, again, language, and we have age as well. So again, we look at adolescence here. So this will relate to the indexing of references essentially. So we could go for this, or we could go, there's also young adulthood as well, but obviously this will be the group that we'll be targeting. So we could just select adolescence from here. And we've got others like methodology. I mentioned that in the PowerPoint as well, different types of study, literature review, qualitative study. So it depends on the nature of your search as well. And then population also here as well. Again, they may come into play as well. So apply this and then we'll limit further. Okay, so just trying to illustrate not only the search technique, but also the various filters that are available to you. You may not need to use those. Maybe keep it quite broad, quite focused. Maybe the past 10 years is sufficient. Maybe just adolescence is okay though too. Okay, so 128 references there, and you can see the relevance with the highlighted terms in yellow for the title, the hyperlink title, and also within the record itself, the key terms, social media, eating disorders, etc., young adolescents, and so on. And if you want to expand the abstracts, then you can just click Show More here. And you can see the keywords in bold, including the various apps I mentioned, Facebook, Snapchat, and so on, etc. Okay, so you've got the results there displayed. So for each of the records, if you want to view the abstract, you need to select Show More. There is a setting in EBSCO Experience Manager for those who have admin rights or some influence on that, where you can configure the interface to display the abstracts up front. So each time you come to the result list, you'll see the expanded abstract. One of the reasons for not doing that is that it takes up space on the screen, so it can impact the cognitive load. It may also be a hindrance to screen readers as well. So again, the idea is trying to keep the information relevant but succinct. Likewise, with the subject fields as well, you'll see the initial subject terms are listed, but you'll see the reference to plus nine more subheadings. Others may have 4, etc. So you can expand these fields to see more information. Now, the number of results per page, you've got 10 showing presently. You can increase that to 50. That is going to increase with the EBSCOhost interface in time. So that's under review at the moment. So at the moment, you can view up to 50 records per page, but you can actually view, you will be able to view more than that in the future as well. So just wait for that to complete. I'm not sure why it's so slow today. It's been, I did a session earlier today. It was much quicker than this. So I've got 50 here. The relevant sort is on, so the most relevant records are listed first, and you can kind of see that with the key terms highlighted. But if you want to see the most recent, you can select date newest as well. Okay. In terms of viewing the full text, you'll see access options like this one. So this has a PDF article. You can go to the PDF and you can display that on screen. So you see the PDF article, etc. And then you have the tools across the top. So you have the save item. You can save this item using the bookmark icon. You can then also cite. You can generate the citation. So I have APA 7th edition as the style. So you can copy that reference style with this citation. You can also export it if you prefer. So if you use it likes of EndNotes, the Terra Mendeley, RefWorks, you can export this in RIS format. Otherwise, you've got RefWorks here or EndNote Web as well. We've also got the option to, I'll come to projects in a moment, share as well. So if you want to share this via Google Drive or OneDrive, you can. You can also create the link to this article as well. That's the PDF. And you can also forward this as well. Now, when you have full text for records, so you have the metadata, the bibliographic information, if it has a PDF or online full text, those will also be included as an attachment when you send that. So if you are running a search for a user, you're supporting a particular team of mental health professionals, for example, then you could forward this article, the bibliographic citation plus the full text here as well. We've also got the option to download it as well. You've got a choice of formats. You can download full text in either PDF or online, but the metadata, you can also download it in Word if you prefer as well, or if you use BibTeX or CSV for a spreadsheet format. You can also print from here as well. So the print icon is available still if you want to print that and read it offline as a hard copy. And then we also have text-to-speech software now for the PDF. So this is the new feature with the new interface. You can now listen to the article being read, whether it's PDF or HTML online. Historically, it's always been HTML full text, but now the PDF is also readable. And you can download the MP3 file for this as well to listen at a later time. I mentioned the full text, the HTML full text. I'm not sure we've got one in another language here, but if we have, I'll just see if we've got any non-English articles here. Not sure if we do. We did have one earlier. Oh, this one here, for example, but this is not full text, unfortunately. So if you have a full text article in Spanish, for example, you can check the language. So for example, this one here, okay, this is in English, but if I go to online full text, it has the same tools for processing as you just saw with the PDF, but I just want to highlight the additional tool for the machine translation of the article. So again, you may not need to restrict the results to English only because you have the software to translate embedded that is provided by Microsoft. So if I go to the translation option, you'll see here you can choose the language to translate it into. So again, if this was in Spanish, you can translate it to English, etc., and so on, or you can do vice versa. For example, this one is now going to be translated into Spanish. So it's using the Microsoft machine translation that's available, and you can see it's annotated there. And then you go back to the original language. So obviously, if you're a native speaker, you can vouch for the accuracy of the language, etc. But that is available, which obviously is useful to enhancing, expanding the option to explore other research in other languages as well. Okay, so moving on, I'm conscious of the time. So in terms of saving other references, then you can save a batch of results. If we go to the top of the screen here, and I'll hide the search history just briefly there, you can go in and select, and you can save up to 50 per page at the moment. So that's going to increase. So you can save those records. And when you save them, they are stored in the save folder under my dashboard. So as you see, now at the moment, I'm not signed in as a personal user. So you're prompted here to sign in or create an account for my EBSCO. So my EBSCO is a personal folder account, a personal login where you can, you can save searches, save references, and so on. So if I want to begin the process, if I don't have an account, I can create an account here. I can fill in the details here on the screen. Your last name's not required, by the way. You create the password, note the criteria, agree to the consent form, and once you create the account, you can then use it online immediately. So you can just log in. If I'm signed into my VPN and I'm not, so I just edit this out of the actual recording, but I wasn't signed in there. But basically, it will then log me into my EBSCO account. So my saved folder, it now includes anything I just saved, plus any previously saved records as well. Plus, it will also highlight any searches I saved previously. So my EBSCO on the top right, this is the personal folder area, essentially, or account area. And so it now says sign out. It will say sign in if you're not signed in previously. If I go back to my search, so for that, I'm going to use the back button here, just go back here and check that search again in the search history. Then when I look at the results, I've got also the option to download them. So I can export these, export up to 25 or export to 25,000 records here. Okay, so I have that option as well. And if I click that, and it will give me this form. Now, if I'm not signed in, it'll prompt me to sign into my EBSCO again. I can add my email address. I can choose the format for RIS, for example, and send it. So that will send a link, and I'll be notified here that that link to downloaded metadata or the bibliographic references is arriving in my inbox and is valid for 7 days. So I have 7 days to access that link and then import those references into my preferred software. Okay, so you can use this feature multiple times during a 24-hour period. The limit is 25,000 per session. However, you can use it and export up to 100,000 records in a 24-hour period in total. So you can download here as well, by the way. So if you want to download the metadata, the bibliographic information for each of these records, you could choose PDF, which is default, or go to Word, CSV, BibTeX, etc. So you can download that information. You can also share this you can share this in Google Drive, OneDrive, or via email. So you just enter the email address of the recipient and send accordingly. And also you can copy the citation. And also with that, you can also export from here as well into RIS format, RefWorks, and so on. So again, another alternative to export records from the result list here. There is another option there that you may have noticed I missed, and I did that deliberately because you've got add to projects here. So now a project is a personal folder that is related to your EBSCO account. So you sign in with EBSCO to be able to save items. You can also set up alerts. But within that, you can set an alternative folder to saved. So on the left-hand dashboard, you'll see we've got projects and saved. Saved is where everything is saved by default, including searches and articles, whereas projects is a separate place where you store items. Now I've got these 4 projects currently. So they do include, for example, this one includes records that I've saved previously, I think. It's still there. And also any previously saved search. Okay, so going back to projects, I can create a new project. For example, go to the plus sign. I can give it a name. So let's call it, let's see, social media, and young people with disorders. Okay, I can assign a due date if it's a project, assignment or evidence search that I'm performing, and I want to complete it by a certain due date. I can do that here. So for example, into February, I can add comments. Maybe it's for a particular user, a group of people, mental health professional, and so on. You can add that information. So this is only available to you, only accessible to you through your personal EBSCO login. You create the project, and then once you've done that, you can add items. Now, one thing I mentioned also, recent activity is also recording the search history. So you can see here, the search history is also recorded here, and I can resort this here. Okay, so you've got the search here as well. And if I go into the results here, this was the final set. I can, if preferred, save the results directly into my project folder. So you may want to bypass the save folder. So just wait for that to complete. Again, not sure why it's so slow this afternoon, but there you go. So I've got these results here. So I can select from this list here, and I can save, add to the project here. So I'm only doing 50 at a time, but I can select the project, add now, and they'll be stored there. So I go to projects now. You'll see in social media and eating disorders, the first 50 are now saved. Okay, and I can go through this list. I can go through, I can select items to delete, for example. I can download as well, and so on. And I can also export from this list as well. So likewise, if I go back to the original search, okay, on the search history page, so search is just hidden there, so I'm just going to go into search history here, and you would notice that it's also added this search string that I've the extra one, so I'm just going to delete this one. Okay. So a couple of things I want to note, I mention here at this stage. So while we're on this page, I changed the sort order. You can select these and download the search here. Okay, so it gives you the search string plus the format. So if I go for RTF or rich text format here and download, I can then save this file. And if I open it up, you'll see what it looks like. I just drag this across. So this is the downloaded search from that search history. It gives you the set number, the original query, an expanded query, when it was run, the date and time, the results, the hit count, search mode, expander, interface, EBSCOhost, and database APA PsycInfo. So for each of the sets, it gives you the relevant information. So when you combine your sets, it also details the actual queries, the actual terms that have been combined, okay, with the hit count and so on. So that's the document that you can download with the search history, etc., and so on. Now we can also, if I scroll down or just hide the search history again, we can also save the search by the result list, go to the tools menu, and you'll see save search here. And then it gives you the query. So it gives you the combined query there below, which you can copy to the clipboard and rerun. And you can also change the name here. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay. And then I can save this. So I just scroll to the bottom of the page and I can save here. Click close. Now that, as you might guess, is saved to the save folder automatically. So if you go to saved here, you'll see it appears in the searches tab. So, but what I want to do is save that to my project of the same name. So I go to the tools menu, add to project, choose project. So social media eating disorders and click add now. Then I can go back to my projects folder, go to social media eating disorders. You'll see the due date, and this time I've got the records plus the search here as well. And I can go in and I can edit, search, look at the search details, copy the clipboard, etc. as well. And I can go in and also delete if I need to. Okay, so again, and notice the search also gives you the filters, like the past 10 years, the adolescent population group, plus the search mode and expander also here as well. Okay, so I'm conscious of the time here as we're nearing, we just got to the hour mark essentially. I would mention also that we do have, I don't think we're going to mention alerts today because of time, but I probably need to go back to my PowerPoint here. Let me just double check. So we have got the help menu here as well if you want more information about using the EBSCOhost interface, essentially. So this is the new interface. There's a quick start guide with various elements such as searching, using the dashboard, using tools, etc. for your information there. But I will stop here, go back to my PowerPoint. So we've got the PEO illustration here with the search history copied. So we have the first element related to the adolescent group, the social media as the exposure, and the outcome, of course, eating disorders. So again, this just gives you an indication of how the search is laid out. I mentioned the cite tool as well. You can create citations using the APA reference style, as you see there. So where you see that quote mark, you can open up and then you can choose the reference style. If it's not APA, and that can be set at the default as needed. and then you can copy the citation format accordingly. In terms of support and training, just quickly then, we do have a roadmap which details changes that are taking place with the EBSCOhost platform. So you may want to visit that at some point. And then we have updates posted every quarter and often more frequent in that. And we also have the EBSCO Connect site. So this is the help site and case portal. So if you sign in as a user, and you can request an account online on the appropriate point on this site, connect.ebsco.com, you can then log cases with EBSCO in terms of any technical issues you're having, any service issues, any enhancement requests that you might have. So you do need to be signed in as a user for that case management system. But otherwise, you can find additional support information, tutorials, etc. within EBSCO Connect. And I have included some of the key resources related to the EBSCO's interface, plus a couple for the APA Thesaurus, etc. And then also there is their own website, apa.org, which will give you more information about the database and relevant information. Contact me directly at rquicks@ebsco.com to follow up if necessary. Thank you very much.